Tai-Ho walked through the diplomatic quarter of Station Omega-7, his tablet showing the day's schedule. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Interstellar Coalition, and his job as a cultural liaison officer kept him busy. Every day brought new questions from curious aliens about Earth and its people. The station was massive, home to over 50 different species. Tai-Ho still marveled at the sight of aliens walking past him. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few glowed in the dark. He had learned to greet each species properly, though he still made mistakes sometimes. As he entered the observation lounge, someone called his name. Tai-Ho turned to see a young Vellerny approaching him. Her skin was a soft lavender color, and her large eyes showed excitement. She carried a data pad that looked ready to burst with information. "Officer Tai-Ho, I finally found you," she said, her voice melodic. "My name is Kessa. I am a researcher studying human behaviors." Tai-Ho smiled politely. "Nice to meet you, Kessa. How can I help you?" Kessa's skin shifted to a bright yellow color. Tai-Ho had learned that meant curiosity among Vellerny people. She held up her data pad, showing images from Earth movies and television shows. "I have been watching human entertainment broadcasts for 3 months," Kessa said. "I have a very important question about something I see humans do repeatedly." "Sure, go ahead," Tai-Ho replied, wondering what this would be about. Kessa pointed to an image on her screen. It showed 2 actors kissing. This pressing of mouth parts against each other. The biological function confuses me. Is this how humans exchange genetic material? But I see it happening so quickly, sometimes multiple times with different partners. How does the bonding complete so fast? Tai-Ho felt his face grow warm. He hadn't expected such a direct question about kissing. He cleared his throat. That's kissing. It's not actually about exchanging genetic material." Kessa's skin flickered between yellow and orange, showing confusion. "Then what is its purpose?" "Among my people, bonding requires weeks of bioluminescent displays and harmonic resonance. We must synchronize our life frequencies. But humans seem to complete their bonding ritual in mere seconds. This seems impossible." Tai-Ho realized this wasn't someone being inappropriate. Kessa genuinely wanted to understand human culture for academic purposes. He gestured to a nearby table. "Maybe we should sit down. This might take a while to explain." They sat across from each other. Kessa placed her data pad on the table, ready to record notes. Her skin had settled to a light pink color, which Tai-Ho guessed meant attentiveness. "Kissing is just one small part of human romantic expression," Tai-Ho began. "It's not actually a bonding ritual by itself. It's more like a gesture of affection." "Affection?" Kessa repeated. "But your entertainment shows humans kissing before they know each other well. Sometimes on first meetings. How can affection exist without the bonding process?" Before Tai-Ho could answer, his supervisor Hyun walked by and noticed their conversation. He was an older human with gray hair and kind eyes. "Tai-Ho, is everything all right here?" "Yes, sir." "Kessa is researching human customs for her thesis." Hyun raised his eyebrows and smiled. "The kissing question?" Kessa's skin turned bright yellow again. "You know about my research?" "Several species have asked similar questions," Hyun said, pulling up a chair. "Human romantic behavior confuses many of our coalition partners. They have biological imperatives and predetermined bonding processes. We don't." "This is what puzzles me most," Kessa said, leaning forward. "Without biological imperatives, what drives humans to bond? How do you choose partners? What completes the ritual if not the mouth pressing?" Tai-Ho exchanged glances with Hyun. His supervisor nodded encouragingly. "Why don't you give her a proper explanation? The cultural festival is coming up in 2 months. We need better understanding between species." "Cultural festival?" Kessa asked. The Coalition Council is organizing it, Hyon explained. Each species will present aspects of their culture. It would be good if someone presented accurate information about human customs, especially romantic ones. The misunderstandings could cause diplomatic problems. Kessa's skin shifted to a deep purple, which Tayo didn't recognize. Would ... Would I be allowed to present my findings? If I understand correctly? Absolutely, Hyon said. In fact, I'm assigning Tayo here to help you with your research. He can teach you about human courtship properly. Consider it official cultural exchange work. After Hyon left, Kessa looked at Tayo with those large, curious eyes. You will teach me? All of it? Tayo nodded slowly. I'll do my best. But I should warn you, human romantic customs are complicated. Every culture on Earth has different traditions. Every person has different preferences. There's no single ritual. No single ritual? Kessa's skin rippled with colors. How do you know when bonding is complete? We don't always know, Tayo admitted. Sometimes relationships don't work out. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people fall out of love. Fall out of love? Love can end? Kessa looked shocked. Velrani bonding is permanent once completed. The biological connection cannot be broken. Humans don't have that biological connection, Tayo said. We choose our partners. We choose to stay with them. Every day is a choice. Kessa sat back in her chair, her skin displaying colors Tayo couldn't interpret. She was quiet for a long moment. This is far more complex than I realized. I thought I was studying a simple physical ritual. But it seems I am studying something much deeper. Romance and love are probably the most studied topics in all human history, Taye said. We've written millions of books about it, created countless songs and movies, built entire industries around it, and we still don't fully understand it ourselves. Remarkable, Kessa whispered. She began typing notes rapidly on her datapad. I must revise my entire thesis structure. I cannot present findings on a ritual I do not understand. Tai-Ho smiled. So where do you want to start? Kessa looked up at him. You said kissing is one small part. What are the other parts? What is the full human courtship experience? Tai-Ho thought about how to answer that. His own romantic experiences had been limited. He'd dated a few people, but nothing serious had developed. Still, he understood the general process. Well, he began, it usually starts with meeting someone and feeling attracted to them. Then you talk, spend time together, learn about each other. You might share meals, go to interesting places, exchange gifts. You build trust and friendship. Physical affection comes gradually, if both people want it. And even then, kissing might happen early or late or never, depending on the individuals involved. And the bonding completion? Kessa asked. Some people never formally bond, Tai-Ho said. Some people date for years before deciding to marry. Marriage is our closest thing to permanent bonding, but even that can end if both people agree. Kessa's skin had turned a deep blue color. Your species lives with such uncertainty. How do you bear it? Tai-Ho shrugged. We're used to it, I guess. The uncertainty makes the connection more meaningful when it works. We call it falling in love because it feels like falling. You can't control it. You just have to trust. Trust without biological certainty, Kessa said softly. This is either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Tai-Ho admitted with a laugh. Kessa stood up, her skin shifting back to pink. I accept your teaching, Officer Tai-Ho. Show me this full human courtship experience. I must understand it completely for my presentation. As Tai-Ho agreed, he didn't realize how complicated this assignment would become. He didn't know that teaching Kessa about human romance would change both of their lives. He simply thought he was doing his job. helping another species understand humanity better. But the universe had other plans. The next day, Taiho prepared his office for Kessa's first official lesson. He had gathered materials from Earth's database, images of couples, wedding ceremonies, first dates, and family gatherings. He felt nervous, though he wasn't sure why. Teaching alien species about human culture was literally his job. Kessa arrived exactly on time, her skin a calm green color. She carried 3 data pads this time instead of 1. "I have prepared questions," she announced. 73 questions to start. Taiho laughed. "We'll try to get through as many as we can." They started with the basics. Taiho explained how humans typically met potential partners. Through friends, at work, at social gatherings, or increasingly through technology that matched people based on interests and preferences. "You use machines to find compatible partners?" Kessa asked, her skin turning yellow with curiosity. "Some people do," Taiho said. "Others prefer meeting naturally. There's no wrong way." This seemed to fascinate Kessa. She made extensive notes. But without pheromones or biological markers, how does the matching algorithm work? People answer questions about their interests, values, and what they want in a partner. The system suggests people with similar answers. "And this works?" Taiho shrugged. "Sometimes. Sometimes not. It's just one method." He decided to call his sister Hannah back on Earth. She ran a matchmaking service in Seoul and knew far more about romance than he did. When her face appeared on the holographic display, she smiled brightly. "Little brother, you never call unless you need something?" "I need your expertise," Taiho admitted. He introduced Kessa, whose skin turned bright pink when meeting someone new. Hannah's eyes widened with delight. "A Velrini. I've read about your species. Your bonding displays are supposed to be beautiful. And you want to learn about human dating?" "Yes, please," Kessa said politely. "Your brother is teaching me, but I understand you are an expert." For the next 2 hours, Hannah enthusiastically explained everything she knew about human courtship. She talked about first dates, how people dressed up to impress each other, how they chose activities they both enjoyed. She explained the nervousness of holding hands for the first time, the excitement of a first kiss, the vulnerability of saying, "I love you." Kessa's skin cycled through dozens of colors as she absorbed this information. Other aliens walking past Taiho's office stopped to listen. Soon, a small crowd had gathered outside. "So humans give each other gifts?" a Kruvian diplomat asked, stepping into the office. "What purpose does this serve?" Taiho gestured for them to come in. "Gifts show thoughtfulness. They show you pay attention to what the other person likes. Among my people, we exchange genetic compatibility certificates," the Kruvian said. "Much more practical." Hannah laughed from the hologram. "But where's the romance in that?" As the impromptu lesson continued, Taiho's best friend Jiho stopped by. He was another cultural liaison officer, tall and always smiling. He leaned against the doorway and watched the scene with amusement. "Taiho's running a whole classroom now," Jiho said. "Should I report this to Hyan?" "Hyan already knows," Taiho replied. "This is official cultural exchange." Jiho's eyes found Kessa, who was asking Hana rapid questions about Korean wedding traditions. "So that's the famous researcher, the one you've been talking about constantly." "I haven't been talking about her constantly," Taiho protested. "You mentioned her 12 times yesterday," Jiho said, grinning. "I counted." Before Taiho could respond, Kessa turned to him with another question. "Your sister mentioned falling in love. Can you explain this phrase?" "Humans do not actually fall, correct?" Taiho felt all eyes on him. "It's a metaphor. It means developing romantic feelings for someone. It often happens unexpectedly, like falling. You don't plan it. You cannot control it. Kessa asked. Not really, no. But you said humans choose their partners. How can you choose if you cannot control the feelings? This was getting philosophical. Taiho thought carefully. You can choose whether to act on those feelings. You can choose to spend time with someone, to be honest with them, to commit to them. The initial attraction might be uncontrollable, but what you do with it is always a choice. Kessa's skin turned a deep purple again. This seems very difficult. It is, Hana said from the hologram. That's why humans write so many sad songs about love. Over the next week, Taiho's lessons with Kessa became routine. Every afternoon, they would meet to discuss different aspects of human relationships. They covered dating etiquette, how to know if someone liked you, the concept of exclusive partnerships, and why some people chose not to pursue romance at all. ESS, absorbed everything like a sponge. Her thesis was expanding rapidly. She had started with a simple question about kissing, and now had a comprehensive study of human emotional bonding. One afternoon, Taiho arranged for Kessa to interview actual human couples on the station. The first were Soman and Doyan, who had married 3 months ago after dating for 3 years. 3 years? Kessa's skin flashed bright yellow. 3 orbital cycles before bonding? We wanted to be sure, Soman explained, holding Doyan's hand. We lived together for a year first to see if we were compatible. You tested compatibility before bonding? Kessa looked amazed. But what if the test failed? Then we would have separated and found other partners, Doyan said simply. Better to know before marriage than after. Kessa turned to Taiho. Vellerny bonding takes 6 weeks. Once initiated, it cannot be stopped. We must be certain before we begin. But humans can test for years and still choose to separate? Yes, Taiho confirmed. And you do not fear this uncertainty? Soman smiled. Of course we fear it, but we trust each other. Every day we choose to stay together. That choice means more than any biological bond. After the interview, Kessa was quiet for a long time. She and Taiho sat in the observation deck, watching stars drift past the station's windows. I begin to understand something, Kessa said softly. Humans invest enormous energy into relationships with no guarantee of success. That's right. And yet, you have built your entire civilization around this uncertainty. Your art, music, literature, even your economies are structured around romance and family. Taiho nodded. Love is important to us. But why? Kessa asked, turning to face him. Her skin was a color he hadn't seen before, a soft coral. My species bonds twice, maybe 3 times in a lifetime. It is rare and precious. We approach it with scientific certainty. But humans pursue love constantly, despite pain and failure. Why? Taiho thought about his own failed relationships. The heartbreak he'd felt when things ended. The loneliness that sometimes crept in late at night. But he also thought about watching Soman and Doyan together, seeing the joy in their eyes. Because when it works, he said slowly, it's worth everything. The uncertainty makes the connection more meaningful. We choose each other without biological imperatives forcing us. That makes it real. Kessa's skin shifted through several colors rapidly. Taiho had learned this meant she was processing strong emotions. I have never considered that certainty might be limiting. Vellerny bonding is beautiful, but it is inevitable once started. There is no choice, no daily decision to stay. It simply is. Different species, different approaches, Taiho said. Neither is better or worse. Perhaps, Kessa said. But she didn't sound convinced. That evening, Jiho found Taiho in the cafeteria. He sat down with his tray and gave his friend a knowing look. You're spending a lot of time with her. It's my assignment. Taiho said, you bring her those earth pastries she likes. She enjoys them. You laugh at all her questions. They're genuinely funny sometimes. Ji-ho leaned forward. You're courting her using our own customs. You realize that, right? Tai-ha opened his mouth to deny it, then stopped. He had been bringing Kessa treats. He looked forward to their afternoon sessions. He found himself thinking about her skin colors and what they meant. That's ridiculous, he finally said. We're completely different species. So? Ji-ho said, love doesn't care about biology. You taught her that yourself. Before Tai-ho could respond, his communicator buzzed. It was Hyen with urgent news. The Coalition Council had moved the cultural festival up by 2 weeks due to scheduling conflicts. All presentations needed to be ready much sooner. Tai-ho immediately called Kessa to tell her. Her skin flashed distress colors, bright red and orange. But I am not ready. My research is incomplete. I still do not understand the full ritual. We'll work faster, Tai-ho assured her. We'll figure it out. But as he ended the call, he wondered if he was reassuring her about the presentation or about something else entirely. With the festival deadline approaching, Tai-ho and Kessa spent even more time together. They moved their sessions to the recreation deck, where Kessa could observe human couples in natural settings. She watched people laugh together over meals, hold hands while walking, dance to music in the observation lounge. Tai-ho arranged more interviews. They spoke with elderly couples married for decades, young people on their first dates, and individuals who had chosen to remain single. Each conversation added new layers to Kessa's understanding. One couple particularly fascinated her. Bial and Minho had been married for 42 years. They sat together in the station's garden area, surrounded by earth plants that reminded them of home. 42 years, Kessa repeated, her skin turning pale yellow. How is this possible without biological bonding? Bial laughed, her aged face crinkling with joy. Some days I ask myself the same question. He snores terribly. And she reorganizes my tools every week, Minho added, squeezing his wife's hand. Drives me crazy. But you stay together despite these incompatibilities. Kessa asked, confused. They're not incompatibilities, Bial said. They're just small annoyances. The big things matter more. He makes me laugh. He brought me soup every day when I was sick for 3 months. He learned to cook my mother's recipes after she died. Those things matter. We choose each other, Minho said simply. Every morning, every night. For 42 years. After the interview, Kessa was unusually quiet. She and Tai-ho walked through the station's corridors in silence. Finally, she spoke. I thought I understood human bonding, but I was wrong. It is not a ritual at all. No? Tai-ho asked. Rituals have steps. They have beginnings and endings. Human bonding is continuous. It never stops. Every day is both the beginning and the middle. That's actually a beautiful way to put it, Tai-ho said. Kessa's skin shifted to that coral color again. Among Velrani, once bonding completes, the work is done. We are connected. We do not need to choose. But humans must choose constantly. You must work continuously to maintain connection. Yes, Tai-ho agreed. Is that so different from other aspects of life? We have to work to maintain friendships, family relationships, even our own health. But you have no guarantee it will work. No guarantee, Tai-ho confirmed. They reached the observation dome, where a massive window showed the nebula outside the station. Colors swirled in the cosmic cloud, beautiful and chaotic. They stood together watching it. Does the uncertainty frighten you? Kessa asked quietly. Tai-ho thought about the question. Sometimes. But I think humans would be more frightened by certainty. If we knew everything would work out, or if we knew it would definitely fail, would it mean as much? The risk makes it valuable. Kessa moved closer to him, her skin now displaying patterns he'd never seen before. Coral mixed with gold, creating waves across her lavender skin. "You bring me those pastries from the Earth Cafe," she said suddenly. Tayo felt his heart rate increase. "You like them. You remember my favorite flavor. Cinnamon. You mentioned it once. You laugh when I make observation. Errors about human behavior. You have a good sense of humor about it. You touch my arm when you explain difficult concepts. Here." She indicated her forearm. Gentle pressure. "I have observed humans do this with people they care about." Taiho realized his hand was hovering near her arm right now. He lowered it quickly. "Kessa, are you performing courtship rituals with me?" she asked directly. The question hung in the air between them. Taiho wanted to deny it, but lying went against everything he'd been teaching her about human relationships. Honesty was fundamental. "I don't know," he said finally. "Maybe. I didn't plan to. It just sort of happened." Kessa's skin rippled with colors too complex to read. "I have been displaying bonding patterns around you for 17 days. My skin shows coral and gold when near you. This is how Velrani indicate interest in potential bonding partners." "I noticed the colors," Taiho admitted, "but I didn't know what they meant." They stood in silence, watching the nebula. Finally, Kessa spoke again, her voice uncertain. "Can this even work? You are human. I am Velrani. Our biologies are completely different." "I don't know," Taiho said honestly. "I've never heard of a human-Velrani relationship. It would be difficult. Our peoples barely understand each other. Others would question us." "They would," Taiho agreed. "And we do not know if emotional bonding is even possible across such different species. We don't." Kessa turned to face him fully. Her large eyes studied his face. "But humans face uncertainty in all romantic pursuits, yes? Even with other humans, there are no guarantees." "That's true. Then perhaps this uncertainty is no different. Just larger." Taiho smiled despite his nervousness. "Are you using my own teachings against me?" "I am learning from an excellent teacher," Kessa said, and her skin brightened with what looked like amusement. Before they could continue the conversation, Taiho's communicator buzzed urgently. It was Hyan. "Taiho, we have a situation. Can you come to the diplomatic office immediately?" When Taiho and Kessa arrived, they found chaos. Apparently, a Kruvian diplomat had witnessed Taiho and Kessa holding hands the previous day. Among Kruvians, hand-holding was a formal gesture signifying treaty agreements between nations. The diplomat had reported that Earth and the Velrani homeworld were forming some kind of secret alliance. It took 3 hours to sort out the misunderstanding. Hyan handled the diplomatic aspects, while Taiho explained human gestures to increasingly confused alien representatives. By the time everything was resolved, both Taiho and Kessa were exhausted. "This is exactly why the cultural festival is important," Hyan said after the last diplomat left. "We need better understanding between species. Kessa, your presentation could prevent future incidents like this." "I will do my best," Kessa promised. Later that evening, Shiho found Taiho in his quarters. His friend carried 2 bottles of earth beer and wore a sympathetic expression. "Heard about the hand-holding incident," Shiho said, handing Taiho a bottle. "The whole station is talking about it." "Great," Taiho muttered. "They're also talking about you and the pretty purple alien spending every day together." Taiho took a long drink. "Her skin is lavender, not purple. So you've noticed her skin color. Interesting." "Jiho, I'm not judging," Jiho said, raising his hands. "Actually, I think it's kind of beautiful. You're literally teaching her about human love while falling into it yourself." "Very poetic." "Nothing's happened," Tae protested. "We're just working together." "Right. And I'm sure you bring coffee to all your research partners at exactly the time they like it. Taiho didn't respond. The truth was, he had been bringing Kessa her preferred temperature of tea every afternoon for 2 weeks. Here's my advice, Jiho said, more seriously now. Human relationships are already uncertain, right? That's what you've been teaching her. So what's a little more uncertainty? Cross-species relationships are rare, but they exist. Hyen's partner is Centaurian. They've been together 8 years. This is different. Kessa and I are so different. Different how? She's curious, intelligent kind. She makes you smile more than I've seen in months. She actually cares about understanding humans, not just study us like specimens. Seems like a good foundation to me. After Jiho left, Taiho lay awake thinking. He thought about everything he'd taught Kessa, about choice and uncertainty, about courage and risk, about how humans built entire civilizations on the hope that connection was possible despite all the obstacles. Was he brave enough to follow his own teachings? The next day, Kessa arrived at their usual meeting time with news. I have completed the first draft of my presentation structure, she announced. Her skin was bright pink, showing excitement. I want to call it the paradox of human bonding, courage without certainty. That's a great title, Taiho said. The central thesis is this, Kessa continued, pulling up her notes. Humans are the only species in the coalition who bond without biological imperatives, environmental triggers, or predetermined matches. Every human relationship is an act of faith, courage, and continuous choice. As she explained her research, Taiho realized how deeply she understood his species. She had identified something even many humans didn't fully recognize about themselves. The courage it took to love without guarantees. The strength required to keep choosing someone every day. There's just one problem, Kessa said, her skin shifting to orange with worry. What's that? I understand the theory now. I have data, interviews, observations. But I do not understand it here. She touched her chest, where her heart equivalent would be. I can explain human bonding academically, but I do not feel I truly know it. Taiho understood what she meant. Knowing about something and experiencing it were very different things. He opened his mouth to respond, but Kessa spoke again. The festival is in 8 days. My presentation is incomplete because I lack experiential understanding, but I do not know how to gain it. They looked at each other across the table. The unspoken question hung between them. Taiho could feel his heart beating faster. This was a choice, just like he'd been teaching her. Every relationship, every connection, every risk was a choice. Maybe, he said slowly, maybe we could figure it out together. Kessa's skin began to glow with gold and coral patterns, brighter than before. Together, she repeated softly. Yes, I would like that very much. The next few days felt different to Taiho. He and Kessa still worked on her presentation, but now there was something else happening between them. Something neither of them had planned, but both were choosing to explore. Kessa visited his quarters for the first time to review presentation materials. She noticed the small details of his life. Photos of his family back on Earth. A collection of old books he'd brought from home. A plant struggling to survive in the station's artificial environment. You keep items for sentimental value, Kessa observed, touching the spine of a worn poetry book. Not practical utility. They remind me of home, Taiho explained. That book was my grandmother's. She loved poetry. Will you read some to me? They sat together on his small couch, and Taiho read Korean poetry translated into Standard. Kessa listened intently, her skin displaying calm green patterns. When he finished a particularly beautiful poem about autumn leaves, she spoke softly. Humans create such beauty around temporary things. Leaves fall and die, yet you write poems celebrating them. Love can end, yet you build your lives around it. You find meaning in impermanence. I never thought about it that way, Taiho said. But yes, I suppose we do. Velrani art celebrates eternal things. The stars that burn for billions of years. The cosmic patterns that never change. But perhaps we miss something by ignoring the temporary. She moved slightly closer to him on the couch. Their shoulders nearly touched. Taiho could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. I am frightened, Kessa admitted suddenly. Of what? Of what I am feeling. I came to this station to study humans academically, to write a thesis and return home. But now, she trailed off, her skin rippling with uncertain colors. Now things are more complicated, Taiho finished. Yes, I think about you when we are apart. I anticipate our meetings. When you smile at my questions, I feel warmth inside that I cannot explain biologically. Is this what you call falling? Taiho's heart pounded. It might be. I do not know how to proceed. Velrani courtship has clear stages. Clear signals. I know when to initiate bioluminescent displays, when to begin harmonic resonance. But with you, I do not know the protocol. There is no protocol, Taiho said gently. That's what I've been trying to teach you. Human relationships don't follow exact rules. We make them up as we go. That is terrifying. Yes, Taiho agreed. It is. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Taiho did something brave. He reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm and smooth, slightly textured in a way human skin wasn't. Her fingers were longer than his, with different joints. Is this acceptable? He asked. Kessa's skin bloomed with golden light. Yes, very acceptable. They stayed like that, holding hands and talking about everything and nothing. Kessa asked about his childhood on Earth. Taiho asked about her homeworld. They discovered they both loved thunderstorms, both preferred night to day, both found meaning in old stories. I must tell you something important, Kessa said eventually. About Velrani bonding. Okay, we bond rarely. Once, perhaps twice in a lifetime. Some Velrani never bond at all. The biological connection is so profound that we choose potential partners very carefully. She paused, her skin showing complex patterns. If I bond with you, I cannot bond with another Velrani. Ever. The weight of this hit Taiho hard. That's Kessa, that's a huge decision. You shouldn't make it lightly. I know. That is why I tell you. I want you to understand what this means for me. And I need you to understand what it means for humans, Taiho said. We don't have biological bonding. I could promise to stay with you forever, and I would mean it. But I'm still just human. I could fail. I could change. I can't offer you the same certainty you're giving up. I know, Kessa said simply. I have learned this. Humans offer choice instead of certainty. Every day, you must choose to stay. It is uncertain. It is frightening. But you taught me something else too. What's that? The uncertainty makes it meaningful. If you choose me today and tomorrow and the day after, not because biology compels you, but because you want to, then each choice is a gift. Velrani bonding is inevitable once begun. But human bonding is continuous choosing. I think I prefer the choosing. Taiho felt something shift inside his chest. This alien being, so different from him, understood something profound about humanity. Maybe something humans themselves often forgot. Over the next few days, they navigated their growing connection carefully. Taiho introduced Kessa to more human customs. They shared a meal in the Earth-style restaurant on the station. She tried different foods and made faces at the ones she didn't like, which made Taiho laugh until his sides hurt. They walked through the observation deck in the evening, when fewer beings were around. They talked about their hopes and fears. Kessa confessed she worried her thesis wouldn't be good enough. Taiho admitted he sometimes felt inadequate as a liaison officer, like he couldn't properly represent all of humanity. You represent yourself, Kessa told him. And yourself is wonderful. They discovered they could communicate in comfortable silences. They learned each other's moods and tells. Taiho could now read Kessa's skin colors fairly well. Kessa could tell when Taihe was tired by the way he rubbed his eyes. Jiho watched this development with knowing smiles. Hana called from Earth and immediately noticed something different in her brother's demeanor. You look happy, she said suspiciously. Really happy? What happened? I'm just working on the cultural presentation, Taiho said, trying to sound casual. With the pretty Velrani researcher? Her name is Kessa. The pretty Velrani named Kessa, Hana corrected, grinning. Little brother, are you dating an alien? It's not dating exactly. It's complicated. Love is always complicated. Tell me about her. So Taiho did. He told Hana about Kessa's curiosity, her intelligence, her sincere desire to understand humanity. He told her about the skin colors and what they meant. He admitted his feelings, still uncertain and new, but definitely real. Hana listened with growing delight. This is the most romantic thing I've ever heard. You're literally teaching her about love while falling in love. Do you know how rare this is? It's probably a bad idea, Taiho said. We're so different. So? Somin and Doyun are from completely different backgrounds. They made it work. You and Kessa just have bigger differences, bigger challenges, but also potentially something beautiful. After the call, Taiho found Kessa in the research library. She was reviewing her presentation notes, surrounded by datapads. Her skin showed orange stress patterns. What's wrong? Taiho asked. I cannot find the right way to explain this to the council. How do I make them understand that human bonding is both fragile and strong? That the lack of biological certainty is actually humanity's strength, not weakness? Taiho sat beside her. Maybe you're overthinking it. Just tell them what you learned. Tell them the truth. The truth is, I came here to study a ritual and discovered it is not a ritual at all. I came here as a scientist and became something else. I came here to understand humans and ended up understanding myself. She looked at him, her eyes large and vulnerable. How do I explain that in an academic presentation? Maybe you don't, Taiho said. Maybe you just tell them what you discovered. That humans choose love without guarantees. That every day, every moment, they risk their hearts for connection. That this makes them either the bravest or most foolish species in the galaxy. Which is it? Kessa asked softly. Both. Definitely both. Kessa's skin shifted to that coral and gold pattern again. I think I am becoming human in my thinking. I am choosing uncertainty. I am risking my heart for connection. This seems both brave and foolish. Welcome to the human experience, Taiho said with a slight smile. They worked on the presentation together late into the night. Other beings came and went from the library, but Taiho and Kessa remained, surrounded by notes and half-empty teacups. They debated word choices, reorganized sections, practiced delivery. At some point, exhausted and running on determination alone, Kessa leaned against Taiho's shoulder. Her skin was pale, showing tiredness. Without thinking, Taiho put his arm around her. Is this acceptable? He asked, echoing his earlier question. Very acceptable, she murmured. They sat like that, comfortable in the silence. Taiho thought about how natural this felt. How right. Despite all the differences between them, despite the uncertainty and complications, this connection felt real. Taiho? Kessa said sleepily, Yes? Thank you for teaching me about human bonding. But thank you more for showing me. There is a difference. I'm learning too. Taiho admitted. You're teaching me just as much. What am I teaching you? Taiho thought about it. That love doesn't require similarity. That connection can exist across impossible differences. That uncertainty isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. Kessa lifted her head to look at him. Her skin glowed softly in the dim library light. Those are good lessons. They are. They looked at each other for a long moment. Taiho wondered if this was the moment. If he should kiss her. But he hesitated. Was that even appropriate for Velrani? Would she understand the gesture? As if reading his thoughts, Kessa spoke. I have been researching the mouth-pressing gesture. The kissing. Oh? I understand. Now it is an expression of affection. Of romantic interest. Of connection. That's right. Would it be acceptable for me to try this gesture? With you? Taiho's heart raced. Only if you want to. I want to. Kessa said simply . So they kissed. It was awkward at first. Their mouths shaped differently, the gesture foreign to her. But they figured it out together, learning as they went. And when they pulled apart, Kessa's entire body glowed with brilliant gold light. Oh, she said softly. Oh, I understand now. Understand what? Why you asked about the whole ritual. Kissing truly is just one small part. But it is a good part. Taiho laughed, feeling lighter than he had in years. It is indeed. The morning of the cultural festival arrived with both excitement and nervousness. The Grand Coalition Assembly Hall had been transformed into a celebration of diversity. Hundreds of species filled the space, each with displays showing their unique cultures and traditions. Taiho walked through the exhibits with wonder. The Centaurians had created a musical installation that responded to brain waves. The fashions demonstrated their synchronized mating dances, which required perfect environmental timing. The Kruvians displayed their genetic compatibility technology, which could predict bonding success with 99% accuracy. But everyone was talking about the featured presentation. Kessa's research had gained attention throughout the station. Many species were curious about human bonding, especially after several misunderstanding incidents over the past months. Taiho found Kessa backstage, her skin cycling rapidly through stress colors. Red, orange, yellow, back to red again. I cannot do this, she said when she saw him. There are over 300 beings out there. Council members, scientists, diplomats. What if I explain it wrong? What if they do not understand? Taiho took her hands gently. You'll do great. You understand humans better than most humans understand themselves. But no buts. You've worked incredibly hard on this. You've interviewed dozens of people. You've lived the experience. Just speak from your heart. Kessa's skin settled to a calmer pink. From my heart, yes, I can do that. Hyan appeared to give the 5-minute warning. He gave Taiho an encouraging nod before heading back out. Jiho poked his head in as well. The whole human delegation is here to support you, he told Kessa. We're proud of you. When Kessa walked onto the stage, Taiho took his seat in the front row between Jiho and Hana, who had traveled from Earth specifically for this event. His sister squeezed his hand excitedly. This is so exciting. Your girlfriend is presenting to the entire coalition. She's not my girlfriend, Taiho whispered. We haven't really defined what we are. That's very human of you, Hana said with a knowing smile. On stage, Kessa stood before the massive audience. Her skin had settled to a professional pale green. She took a breath and began. 6 months ago, I came to this station with a simple question, she said, her voice clear and strong. I wanted to know about the human gesture of mouth-pressing. Kissing. I thought I was studying a simple biological ritual. She activated the holographic display behind her, showing the images she'd collected from Earth media. I was wrong. What I discovered was far more complex and far more profound than any ritual. I discovered that humans approach bonding in a way unique among all known species in the coalition. The next hologram showed comparison data from different species. Valrani bioluminescent bonding sequences, Kruvian genetic matching, Thashan environmental synchronization, and finally, human courtship represented by a simple question mark. Every species here has biological mechanisms ensuring bonding success, Kessa continued. Pheromones, predetermined matches, environmental triggers. These mechanisms evolved to guarantee reproductive success and social stability. But humans have none of these. A murmur went through the crowd. Some aliens leaned forward with interest. Others looked skeptical. Humans choose their partners based on intangible qualities: humor, kindness, shared interests, emotional resonance. They have no biological certainty that bonding will work. They have no predetermined matches. They have no external validation that they have chosen correctly. Kessa paused, letting this sink in. Her skin was now showing hints of that coral and gold pattern as emotion entered her voice. I interviewed a human couple bonded for 42 years. They told me they choose each other every day, every morning, every night, for over 15,000 days. Not because biology compels them, but because they want to. She showed footage from her interviews. Somin and Doyon talking about their 3-year courtship. Biol and Minho discussing their decades together. Young humans describing first loves and heartbreaks. Humans have approximately 50% relationship success rates. They face heartbreak, rejection, unrequited love. They bond and sometimes must separate. They risk emotional devastation with every connection they attempt. An elderly Velrani scholar stood up. Then why do they persist? This seems inefficient and painful. Kessa's skin brightened. This was the central question she'd been building toward. Because, she said, her voice filling the hall, humans have discovered something we have not. They have learned that the value of bonding is not in the certainty of success, but in the courage of attempting. They understand that choosing someone, truly choosing them without biological imperatives forcing the decision, makes the bond more meaningful. She showed more data. Human art spanning thousands of years, all focused on love. Music, poetry, literature, film. Entire industries built around romance. Humans have built their civilizations around this uncertain, non-biological phenomenon. They have created more words for love than any other concept in their languages. They have composed millions of songs about it, written billions of poems. Why? Because love, for humans, is not a biological function. It is an act of defiance against a universe that does not require it of them. The assembly hall was completely silent now. Every being present was listening intently. Kessa's presentation continued, showing the depth of her research. She explained human dating customs, the progression of physical affection, the concept of marriage and commitment. She discussed how humans adapted their courtship behaviors across different cultures and time periods. Yet the core remained the same: choice, vulnerability, and continuous recommitment. I studied the human ritual of kissing, Kessa said, returning to her opening. But I learned that kissing is not the ritual. There is no ritual. There is only the daily choice to connect, to be vulnerable, to risk your heart for the possibility of love. She brought up her final display, showing success rates across species. Velrani bonding succeeds 99.8% of the time once initiated. Kruvian predetermined matches succeed 99.2% of the time. Thashan environmental bonding succeeds 100% of the time. Human bonding succeeds approximately 50% of the time. She paused, her skin now glowing bright with conviction. Yet humans try again, and again, and again. They write songs about heartbreak and poems about loss. They create art from their pain. And then they open their hearts once more. They risk everything again for the chance at connection. The elderly Velrani scholar stood again. Are you saying they choose vulnerability as strength? Yes, Kessa said firmly. They choose love as their act of courage in a universe that does not demand it. They bond without biological imperatives, without certainty, without guarantees. And in doing so, they have created something beautiful. They have created choice. She took a breath, and her skin shifted to show personal emotion for the first time. I came here as a scientist studying humans academically. But humans taught me that some things cannot be understood academically. Some things must be experienced. They taught me that uncertainty is not weakness, but possibility. That choosing someone every day means more than biological inevitability. That love without guarantees is not foolish, but brave. Kessa looked directly at Tai-Ho in the audience. Their eyes met across the hall. Humans do not ask for certainty in bonding. They ask for honesty, respect, and the courage to try. They ask for someone who will choose them today, tomorrow, and every day after. Not because they must, but because they want to. And I believe that is the most remarkable thing in the galaxy. The assembly hall erupted in response. Some beings stood and applauded. Others displayed their species' equivalent of appreciation. The Velrani delegation showed brilliant bioluminescent patterns. Even the stoic Kruvians nodded with what looked like approval. The presentation had worked. More than worked. Kessa had given the coalition something they desperately needed: understanding of the species that had just joined them. Understanding of humanity's unique approach to one of life's most fundamental experiences. After the presentation, Kessa was surrounded by scholars and diplomats asking questions. Tai-Ho waited patiently, pride filling his chest. Hannah hugged him excitedly. She was amazing. And she was talking about you at the end. Everyone could tell. Maybe, Tai-Ho admitted. Unable to stop smiling, it took an hour before Kessa could extract herself from the crowd. She found Tai-Ho waiting outside the assembly hall, looking out at the stars through the observation window. You did it, he said when she approached. That was incredible. Kessa's skin glowed with happiness. I could not have done it without you. You taught me everything. You taught yourself. I just answered questions. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars drift past. Finally, Kessa spoke. I meant what I said in there, about experiencing things rather than just studying them. I know. I have one more question about human bonding. If you do not mind. Of course, what is it? Kessa turned to face him fully. Her skin displayed those coral and gold patterns that Tai-Ho now recognized as her showing affection. If kissing is not the whole ritual, and if human bonding is continuous choosing, would you teach me the rest? Not as a researcher, but as Kessa? Tai-Ho felt his heart swell. That could take a lifetime. We don't have predetermined timelines, remember? Good, Kessa said softly. I have learned that humans think that is the point. What about your people? What about Velrani bonding? You said if you bond with me, you can never bond with another Velrani. I know. And I choose this. I choose you. I choose uncertainty. I choose making up rituals as we go. One choose daily recommitment over biological inevitability. Is that acceptable? Tai-Ho laughed, feeling freer than he ever had. Very acceptable. And I have one more question. What's that? Would you kiss me again? I believe I need more practice to fully understand this gesture. So Tai-Ho kissed her there in the observation deck, with the stars as their witnesses. And this time it wasn't awkward at all. They had learned together, adapted together, created something new together. When they pulled apart, Kessa's entire body radiated light. Several passing aliens stopped to stare in wonder at the Velroni, displaying such brilliant bonding patterns. "So this is falling in love," Kessa said wonderingly. "I understand now why you use that word. It feels like falling, but also like flying." "That's actually perfect," Taiyo said. 6 months later, the station had changed. Cross-species relationships, while still rare, were becoming more accepted. Kessa's presentation had opened dialogues across the coalition. Beings who had never considered bonding outside their species were now exploring possibilities. High-end Centaurian partner Nari had given an excellent follow-up presentation on their 8-year relationship. Jiho was officially courting a Centaurian linguist named Seraph. 3 more human-alien relationships had formed on the station alone. But the biggest change was personal. Taiho and Kessa had moved into quarters together. They were planning a ceremony that would blend human and Velroni traditions. Hana was coming back to help organize it, bursting with excitement about creating a hybrid celebration. One evening, they sat together in their quarters, Kessa working on a new research paper while Taiho read beside her. Her skin showed the calm green of contentment. His hand rested on her knee absently. "I have been thinking," Kessa said, looking up from her work. "About what?" "About that first day when I asked you about kissing. If I had known then where that question would lead, I might have been too frightened to ask it. And now? Now I am grateful. I did not know. The uncertainty made it possible. If I had seen our future, I might have calculated the risks and decided they were too high. But I asked a simple question and followed where it led." "Very human of you," Taiyo said with a smile. "I think I am becoming a bit human, just as you are becoming a bit Velroni." It was true. Taiho had learned to read the subtle shifts in Kessa's bioluminescence. He had adapted his communication style to be clearer and more direct. He had learned about Velroni history and culture. They were creating something new together, neither fully human nor fully Velroni, but uniquely theirs. "Do you ever regret it?" Taiho asked. "Choosing this instead of traditional Velroni bonding?" Kessa thought about it seriously. "No, never. Traditional bonding would have been certain, safe, predetermined, but I would not have chosen it. It would have chosen me. With you, every day I wake up can choose you. And you choose me. That makes it real." "I do choose you," Taiyo said. "Every day. I know. That is why the galaxy was wrong about humans." "Wrong how?" "They thought human bonding was weak because it lacked biological certainty. But it is strong precisely because of that lack. You build connections through continuous effort rather than biological inevitability. You create meaning through choice. That is not weak. That is the strongest thing I have ever witnessed." Taiho pulled her close, and she rested her head against his shoulder, her skin warming to that coral gold pattern he loved. The galaxy had thousands of certainties, biological imperatives, predetermined matches, guaranteed outcomes. But humanity had offered something far more precious. They had offered the freedom to choose, the courage to be vulnerable, and the strength to keep choosing even when things were difficult. And in a small quarters on Station Omega 7, a human and a Velroni were writing their own story. No ritual, no biological imperative, no predetermined timeline. Just 2 beings who had learned that sometimes the most beautiful things in the universe were the ones you created yourself, one choice at a time, every single day.